Yo,
Welcome to the Vangs.
I'm Tanaya.
And I'm Peter. And today, we're going to be just kind of doing a little discussion. But we're calling this series just Hanging Out with the Vangs. And today's
Hanging with the Vangs.
Hanging with the Vangs. And today's topic is Nyab duties. So, what is Nyab? What?
Oh my God, you're using your phone.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just to kind of keep me in line of what, so we kind of stay to subject. But what is Nya? So Nya basically means daughter-in-law.
Which I already know.
Yeah, which you already knew. And then duties are the duties that you're supposed to be doing for the Hmong culture. So these are just things to my knowledge. I'm so sure there's more out there that people would tell us, but to my knowledge, it's basically just you're kind of like a housemaid, you kind of just do everything a housemaid does, like cook, clean, take care of everybody in the house, and you're just basically a maid. I mean, I don't know how else to explain that. For expectation, everything a maid does, your expectation is to do all of that and cater to the parents, my parents, and you're also catering to families whenever, family events are happening. So let's say that if we go to a family event and let's say everybody's cooking, you're expected to go into the kitchen to just cook and clean and kind of like serve everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, I already know this, but for the people watching, when you become a daughter-in-law, of course, if you're marrying into the family, and then traditionally in the Hmong culture, not every Hmong family does this nowadays, but
yeah, not nowadays.
There's still a lot that do, that when you marry your husband, you're kind of leaving your family, and you're joining now with your husband's family. And a lot of the times they're still living with their parents, so you're really living with the husband's family, and you're doing what basically anything they ask you to do in regards to taking care of the house, or tiny little things from giving your sibling-in-law a ride somewhere, or cooking and cleaning like you said. But it's a very traditional thing. It's really, honestly, to me, it's the same thing as American.
Okay.
Because even in my family, we have daughter-in-law things. It's not called like daughter-in-law duties, but it's like
helping out.
Just help out. Yeah, but we're not forced to either. Like we're not gonna be looked at weird if we didn't wash the dishes at my mama-in-law's house. Like my brother's fiance wouldn't be looked at weird if she didn't help clean or help out in the kitchen. Is what I'm saying.
She wouldn't look at.
She wouldn't be looked at.
People wouldn't look at as like she's lazy or anything,
No.
Or like let's say that I'll just use Thanksgiving as an example, and let's say somebody from the family's wife isn't helping out in the kitchen and they're just sitting at the couch watching TV. Would that be considered like?
It depends on the person. Now,
Okay.
If we know, like my future sister-in-law, you look at her, or we know her,
Right.
So it wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, she's being disrespectful. But if let's say it's someone that we know is kind of like shifty, and then all they do is never help out, like ever, then it'd be like, okay, that's disrespectful. But that's like you, who has helped out for a while, but then this time you didn't ask to help in the kitchen or help somewhere. Nobody's gonna look at you like, what's wrong with you? Because you help out sometimes in other areas.
So,
but like if you've never helped out, it will look weird.
So I guess it is kind of the same concept.
Is it?
Except that in your culture, it sounds like it's okay to not help out.
Yes.
Like it's a little bit more accepted. But
Yes.
if you never help out, then it's just kind of like, okay, now you're just.
I will say that it's kind of weird though if they're sitting to themselves and all the women are just gathered up in the kitchen having a conversation, especially if you have that kind of relationship.
Right.
And if they are sitting to themselves, then it gets a little weird.
What if you don't have that kind of conversation or the relationship?
Depending on the family, but sometimes it'll still be deemed disrespectful.
Okay.
Especially if you're like, hey, come on, come talk to us, and then they're like,
Because in the Hmong culture, it's like it's kind of hard because like I'm speaking from a man's point of view, so it's a bit different because for the men, you would go to whether they're sitting down or if they're cutting meat outside or something. You just go in and help even though you don't know anyone. That's where you kind of be like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm whatever. And then I don't know how it is for the women, but from what I've seen, it's I think you do the same thing too. You kind of just go in and be like, even if you don't know them and if you don't even have like, maybe you just do a quick introduction, but the whole time you're kind of just helping out even though you're not talking to nobody. It's just kind of like it's like expected because if you don't, it's just kind of like, how come she's just sitting over there? She's not with the rest of the women cooking in the kitchen,
Yeah.
I guess.
Have you ever been in a situation where Nya or potential Nya is like sitting away from everybody and you've heard the women actually say something about it?
I want to say that I have, but I can't seem to remember when it happened. But yes, it's not the first time that I've seen just like Nya or in this case I can even say girlfriends too because girlfriends are expected to. I have seen them just kind of sit with their husband or their partner, and while their partner is talking to the men, she does sit there with them. So yeah, I have seen it.
You've seen it, but I mean, like, have you ever heard the women complain about that?
And again, like I said, I feel like I have because I slightly remember hearing it, but I can't recall when it happened. It's just one of those things. As a kid, you kind of just hear, but you don't really. I can't recall when exactly. You know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess for the people watching that hasn't caught up with us about us dating in our beginning of our relationship, I was kind of expected to just kind of know what Nya duties were.
Right.
Before I actually knew what it was, and I was expected to do these things as his girlfriend that I was not willing to do. I've never had an issue with helping out at my partner's parents' houses.
Right.
Previously dating, but usually it's because I have that relationship with them where I'm willing to help out because I know you're not like treat me like crap, And so with our situation, it was different because I wasn't accepted coming into our relationship
right away. Mm-hmm.
And it took some years for that to even happen. So when I first came in, I think the expectation was on me. But since I had already learned about how your parents felt about me, I decided not to do it because in my head, and unfortunately how my mom raised me was, why would I do that for someone
who
that
doesn't even love you, right?
Yes, or like me.
Because it's kind of like, I'm going out of my way for you, even though you have no respect or you don't even care for me.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't expect you to like me or love me right away because you barely know me. But it's like, but when I walked in that door, you already said so many things about me that were so just horrible. That was just horrible,
right?
In my opinion, and it's like something that you would never think would be said to you from someone's parents, having never known you,
not even given a chance.
Even given a chance, and it's like, wow, people really think like that about me, and I was so shocked. And so with Nya duties, when you started telling me like, go help out in the kitchen, go do this, and I'm like, they don't even want me here. Why are you trying to tell me to do that?
Yeah.
But then I would do it anyway for you. And still, be like, no, we don't need help. Which is probably good, because I probably wouldn't even know what to do in the kitchen anyway. I was new to the Hmong culture, except for wash dishes. And then I'm over here thinking, what am I, a maid? And
duties.
Because I'm not washing nobody's dishes. But...
Yeah. And, just a little backstory, too. Like, it was completely my fault for not telling you about Nya duties. Because, it was so ingrained in me that I didn't even think about it, and I guess I forgot that you weren't Hmong, so like I just assumed that you would just know, because there's a lot of things I don't agree with in the Hmong culture, and
it really stapling carpet right now.
And Nya duties was one of them, and it's funny because you're actually the one who pointed it out, but I was doing exactly what Hmong men was doing to their woman, and I didn't even know I was doing it, even though I was so against it, because I've always wanted, Hmong women to like be on the equal level as men, like equal, like, they should be able to eat at the table, men should be able to be in the kitchen to cook with the woman, and me being in my career, being a chef, like in the kitchen, it is predominantly men, but we do get women in there too. And like, to me, it's always been like, why can't we cook with women in the kitchen? Because coming from the chef world, women are in the kitchen with us, and a lot of times they are more badass than we are. But it's just, I just found it interesting. And like, when you used to come over to my house, I used to just be like, hey, why don't you, I would kind of like tell you quietly, like, why don't you go help my mom with the dishes or something, or like go help this and that. Like, just the expectation was put on you from my culture without me even knowing it. And I know that
get the dog. Benji.
No.
The duty was put on me.
Oh yeah, the duty was put on you without me even realizing it. So, I would tell you, and because you wanted to be accepted into the Hmong culture so bad that you just did it out of love for me too. Because like you said, you were doing it for me, and I can see you were like helping out with dishes, but you, again, that's what your mom raised you guys to do, just to help out. It wasn't even a duty; it was just to help out family, because
like
that's what we do.
Off the dish,
right? You
help
help
wash
out
the dish.
You think that would just be common sense, but a lot of people don't get that. But
the thing is, even when I did start doing dishes, your sister or your mom would come over here like, "Oh, you don't have to do the dishes."
Right.
Your little sister would do them, and it'd be like, "Well, I'm already doing them."
Right. Yeah. So she's, it's always like, it's okay, you don't have to do it, but it's like, are you gonna do it though?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, like you need to do it, but if you do it, I'm gonna come over and be like, oh, it's okay, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
It's not even just my family. Like, I've seen it happen at family gatherings where you would help out. Remember when you were cutting Hmong sausage and they were kind of looking at you?
Oh my god.
They're kind of looking at you like.
This is
like,
almost 7 years we had been together at that time, because it was at his party, and that was the first time I started actually cutting meat for a family gathering.
Cooked meat, but
cooked meat for a family gathering.
An event that I was hosting.
An event that he was hosting that he asked me to do, and I was nervous, like knife shaking in my hand, because I'm like, all these people are about to gather around and watch this girl cut some meat. These are all
Hmong women, by the way.
And it's just Hmong sausage. And so I'm cutting it regular, like straight, and they kind of looked at me. I'm like, maybe I should cut it slanted. So I started doing the slanted pieces of meat. And then you still got the expert women in the kitchen still watching me cut this Hmong sausage like it's their last meal, or like I'm about to mess up a whole entire entree.
And mind you, these are all family members that are close. Like, these are the people that like Tanaya.
Yeah, and they were still like, I'm like, and I looked over like, do you want to do it? Because that's the kind of relationship we had. I'm like, do you want to do it? Am I not doing it right? And they're like, oh, no, you're doing it right.
See, it's that whole passiveness that kind of bothers me. It's like, just be honest, yo. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, that's that it was just one of the funny things, and like, it's kind of like, we want you to do it, but we don't want you to do it. It's weird. Like, I don't know how to explain that. It's kind of like, you're welcome into the culture, and we want you to do everything, but at the same time, you're not welcome in the culture. So now it's kind of like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Because I mean, I don't think I've ever seen it where, but of course I'm never really around like that anymore, where a Hmong woman is being treated that way as the way I was being treated in the kitchen.
Because you weren't Hmong and you were coming into the culture, I feel like the expectation and everything was put on you times two, because you weren't Hmong.
But then also it was also taken off in a lot of senses. I think the fact that I asked to help in the kitchen was a good thing, but I think I was told no all of the time because they didn't expect me to know what I was doing. The customs and... Not even the customs, just the kind of food and how it needed to be cut and what was going in what. She probably don't know how to pick cilantro, type of situations, which I didn't. But, it was like, I don't really want to teach you. Right. I think that was my problem.
But you need to know these things, though.
Yeah. And so I think they expected you or my mill to teach me. Your mom.
Mother-in-law, I know.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know. You were my meal to teach me those things instead of having them teach me. You know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so messed up. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like why have these duties, but like why put it on someone, especially someone who's not Hmong, but at the same time it's like, oh no, it's okay, you don't have to do it.
Well, then
like,
now I'm wondering: does the pressure feel like it's 2 times because I'm not Hmong and new into it, or is it just the pressure in general?
You see, this is where I kind of like I can only speak from the men's point of view, so it's different because my view is completely different from an actual
we'll just have to
Nyab.
get a Nya that.
Yeah, we'll have a part 2 with a Nyab, but
Yeah,
she'll be able to explain everything.
Yeah, we'll have to find someone that isn't super traditional.
Oh no, it might be good to get someone traditional.
Or both. We need 2 then. We need one that's super traditional and one that's more modern. Because then we can get both sides. Like,
True.
I know about them, but I don't do them versus I do them because...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, for sure. But, yeah, so, just the duties and the expectation to cater to both families, it's just kind of what, like, Nyab duties are, and, like, it's crazy, like...
Did you ever feel like I was disrespecting the culture because... I remember... you laughed.
Definitely.
Well, because I remember... a few times when we were at your cousin's house and you would be like, why aren't you helping in the kitchen?
Right.
And it'd be like, I asked them, they told me no. And it was a few times that it happened.
The crazy thing is they always say no.
Yes. But you, I felt, were always like, well, go help anyway. And I'm like,
they
told me no.
See, that's the tradition that I didn't even realize I was carrying over. Like, well, you help out anyways. Even if they say no, you pick up something and do it anyways.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's just that passiveness among people in the Midwest, but it's just kind of like, no, but it also means yes, And
like, no.
Right. And like you just automatically go and pick something up and start doing it. I forgot who taught me that. I think it was like my dad or my mom or something, but they're like, even if they say no, you still go in and you do it anyways. You just pick something up and start doing it. You know, it's kind of like
you can't do that in my family.
It's kind of like a test or something. I don't know.
You can't do that in my family specifically. I ain't saying the black culture, but in my family specifically, you can't just go in the kitchen and just pick it up and be like, they'd be like, whoa, what are you doing?
Because for one, you might not be able to cook.
Yeah, like get up. Can you cook? Nah, you could go boil the water. That's your job.
You can wash dishes.
You can make cornbread. If they tell you to make cornbread, that means you can't. Oh, dang, they tell me to make cornbread. Dang. So. Anyways, but okay, so moving on. The reason why I don't necessarily do all the Nyab duties. We decided.
This is actually the next point too.
Okay. Peter is so he literally has everything written down so we can stay on track.
So are we done with duties and expectations?
Yes, we're done.
So then we're on to things that we both agree on. I feel like I'm missing something for the expectation and duties. Oh well, if it comes back, it'll just come out. So these are some things that we agree on. No duties to families that we both don't know. Not forcing my wife to participate just because. Setting boundaries for what we accept and won't, and will not let her feel not wanted, and standing up for her. I guess that's two, but.
Dang, yes.
Okay, Prince, you gotta get down. So, no duties to families that we both don't know. So, like, let's say, I don't know, an uncle or something calls my dad and my dad's busy. So, in the Hmong household, at least in my family, your dad is basically the face of the whole family. He's the one who gets respect. If he doesn't get respect, nobody else gets respect.
Yep.
And you have to, from the son, you have to kind of carry your dad's legacy with you. So whatever your dad does, you have to do, especially being the oldest son too. You have to kind of carry that legacy on. So let's say, like, I don't know, a distant uncle or a cousin, because we got thousands of them. They'll call my dad and be like, hey, look, we're having like a traditional gathering this day. Please come over. And if you don't come, it's kind of like a sign of disrespect. So you show up for respect, because respect is everything in like the Hmong culture. And let's say that my dad can't make it, so now I'm next in line to do it, because my dad raised me to follow everything he was doing. He was teaching me, like, as
Wow.
as a vow, you know, you have to go and do these things. So it was just drilled in me. And because I was such a rebel,
Was?
or still is, it doesn't work like that. So my dad just can't get me to do things. But every now and then, you know, I'll be like, all right, you know, I'll go hang out with these family because, you know, like I haven't seen them in a minute. So, you know, a distant uncle or something would call and I would go over there and you know, I would bring, of course, my wife with me, which is with you, you know, and we would get there and these are family members that I kind of know. Some of them I know really well, some of them I don't know. And then you don't know none of these people because these are family members that I don't hang out with on a regular. Mm-hmm. So right away we get the stares, which is normal for us now. We get the stares right away and then just you can just kind of see the whispers and everything. You know, you just feel the energy and the vibe. And
yeah, because there was an event we went to for someone, and when I came out of the house with my plate, they asked me if I was so-and-so's girlfriend, who at that time they were addicted to drugs, unfortunately. Right. So they assumed I was that person's girlfriend. Because of the color of your skin, so they automatically assumed that you were the stereotypical, you know. Yeah, like, oh, she must also be addicted to drugs or something. That's why she's here with the drug addict. And so another cousin, another wife had to explain, like, oh, no, it's so-and-so's girlfriend. Yeah. You're going to tell them up. So... Or what? So I blew up. So I was like... Oh, yeah! So I blew up because that was offensive to me because I'm like, this is my girlfriend at that time. And so this was in the middle of like everybody. So it pissed me off. So I stood up and I said I forgot what I said. You said... I was going off. What did you say? This is my girlfriend. Whoever has a problem with it or something. Come see me, you know? Yeah. And if anybody got a problem, and everybody kind of just got quiet, like, oh shit. And then the whispers continue to happen. And then my cousin, so, you know, I was like, all right, you know, F this, like, let's just get out of here because I don't want to be here anymore. Even though I got love for these guys. We left, and one of the, Did we? We did leave, though. Oh. And then right after I, you know, did the whole announcement to let people know, one of the cousins, the brothers, pulled me to the side, and he was like, he felt ashamed, you know. He was like, hey, I'm sorry, Peter, like, I didn't know they were going to do that, you know. And he's like, you know, I just want to let you know that. Yeah, I'll tell you who it is in a bit, but he's just like, I'm sorry, man, like, I didn't know that was going to happen. Like, I apologize on behalf of my whole family. Like, I'm just really sorry. Isn't that the time when we went inside and that auntie was like, oh, they don't eat what we eat? Was that at that party or was that another party? I think that is the same party. It's the same house. Yeah, but it's the same party. And she's like, oh, they don't eat what we eat. And I was like, oh, yeah, they do. They eat exactly. But she said it in Hmong, so I didn't hear it, even though she was right next to me. And I called it out. I'm like, yeah, she does. She eat the same thing. Y'all as I'm grabbing food. Right. And I looked them in the eye. And like, at this time, we were like at least 5 years into the relationship by then. So I had already eaten... Yeah. Hmong food. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, but you know, so the brother, you know, apologized and I said, you know, I'm like, hey man, it's cool. I totally get it, but we're probably just gonna leave. And he was like, I'm sorry, you know, he shook my hand and he was like, you know, like basically saying like, I hope you still come back, you know, like I hope this doesn't, you know, put a strain between it. And I was like, nah, don't even worry about it, bro. Like this isn't you. Yeah. Those are the kind of people we need. It does, like Hmong or not, when you see that your family's tripping because you know as a younger person, I mean your family had came here, so they're not used to the American lifestyle or whatever, or the freedom to do really what you want, and date outside your race. It's like, no, that's not custom. Right. And so when you have people who, I know he doesn't date outside his race, if I think it's who you're talking about. But he understands mistreatment of people still isn't fair, whether or not they're Hmong or not. And it's funny because he's older than us too. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's kind of like we need more people in that sense. Right. Because like they can see bullshit and it's kind of like, yo, exactly. That's fucked up. Because BS ain't got no color. Right. And if somebody's getting mistreated, it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, it was because, you know, I'm black coming into a Hmong setting. Right. But if no one ever says anything, people keep going and thinking it's okay. And although he probably didn't speak out to the people
Right.
themselves, the fact that he came to you
To apologize.
shows where he stood in that and the support, I guess, you know,
Right.
because we don't get that really ever.
Right. Yeah. So.
And even the girl that stood up for me, we don't get that barely ever.
Which
The one that
girl?
actually said something to that lady that assumed I was what's his face's wife.
Oh, there was a lady who said something.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that. I was just too pissed. But
She's
yeah,
great. That's why.
yeah, but yeah, that's one of the things, and I just agreed because it took it wasn't the first time, but like it took a few times for you to mention it because you used to just get so uncomfortable, you would go sit in the car, and I'm like, that's kind of rude because this is the family, like why are you sitting in the car?
It also plays a part though. I am an introvert, so I can be social at parties,
Right.
but I bring it back sometimes, and so with me going into the car or me coming out in general and getting to know people I don't know,
Right.
was already really tough for me. And then being treated like that, it's like, I'm already uncomfortable being here.
Right.
Now I'm even more uncomfortable because people are like looking at me like I'm in high school, like that nerdy kid that everybody wants to bully,
Right.
And so I always, in the car.
Yeah, and you of course are very vocal, so you would always voice to me like, look, like you're treating me like shit here. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, it's disrespectful to go sit in the car like that. You need to be out here with the women and everybody else. And again, I didn't realize I was doing this because I was just raised on this, so it was like an automatic instinct for me. So you voiced it a few times, and after seeing how hurt you was, I was like, oh shit, I preached so hard on not being this person, and then I end up being this person.
Yeah, and we talked about that in our other video about
Yeah.
dating relationships.
So it's just kind of like it put a strain between us, and when I saw how hurt you were, I was like, well, in this case, I don't even care about culture anymore because the person I love is so hurt that I'm not willing to put my ego and my culture down. Where
it took a lot of years for that to even happen.
It didn't happen right away for sure.
You start accepting it. It started really small. You started accepting me not going to distant family events, but when it came to close family events, you still had an issue with me not going.
Right.
Or just sitting in the car like, I look a hot mess, I don't want to go say hi. And you take that as ultimate disrespect. Yeah. But to get back on track, the reason why we don't do Nyab duties is not because we 100% disagree with being a Nyab and doing those duties.
Right.
The thing is, for me, why I chose to not do it, and I brought this to you, was I don't want to do them out of obligation.
Right.
And when it becomes obligatory, I don't like doing anything obligatory when it comes to giving my time or me in general to someone.
Right.
And so I don't even buy gifts for people if it's out of obligation. Just because it's Christmas don't mean you're getting a gift. And you know that.
Yeah.
And I don't like receiving gifts out of obligation. So with me, I felt that I would help out if it was needed, if I felt moved to.
Right.
Not that I would just sit on my butt while everybody did whatever, but I would help out. But it isn't just because I'm a daughter-in-law. It's because now we have that rapport with each other, like me and your mom and your sisters now, where I'm willing to help out because I know it's not backhanded, Like I know, if I ask, do you need help in the kitchen? Your mom's going to say, yeah.
Right.
Now.
Right.
And if she says no, I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, she must be talking about me, like it was before. So I decided not to do all of the Nyab duties, because your mom said that.
I guess this is where we're setting boundaries.
This is where we set boundaries, where we decided to set boundaries. And a lot of the times me not doing something would be taken as disrespectful after Peter and I had already discussed that we were no longer going to do Nyab duties. The thing is, no one else knew that that's what Peter and I had discussed. Right. So they assumed I was just being disrespectful. And instead of coming to Peter like your wife ain't doing what she's supposed to do, which they should have, they would have learned that Peter and I, as the head of the house, has decided that Tanaya does not have to do this.
Yeah, and let's say that a family member does come up to me and be like, hey, look, how come your wife's not helping out? And, I will put them in their place and be like, no, I won't put them in their place, but I'll just be like, I would just tell them straight up, She does help out. It's just they just don't need help right now.
Not even that. Like,
Or
don't even try to justify the reason why they should come up to you, because at the end of the day, you and I discussed what I will and won't do.
Right.
And it's really nobody else's business, to be honest. And if I ever got questioned, it would be like, this is something that me and my husband have decided to not do.
Yeah, and honestly, I think if someone was to come up, I would just be like, I would have to say it in not a smart ass way.
Yeah, good luck.
Or I would probably just, how would I say it that's that's straight to the point, but me just not, me setting about it. I don't know. I'll probably just be like, I don't know. When we get there, we'll get there. But so far, nobody has come up to me and said anything.
I don't think anybody is. I don't think anybody's going to come up to you unless they're like super bold. But yeah, and so we set that boundary a long time ago where I wouldn't do it. And it's not, a lot of people don't understand that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people also don't understand that I still help out when needed, but I'm not the kind that you can just call up and be like, so-and-so needs a ride home from work.
Right.
Or call you up and be like, so-and-so needs a ride home from work, and you're at work, and I'm like, well, where's your wife? Have her do it. No. Wife ain't doing that.
I've never gotten that call.
Yes, you have.
I have?
Yep. Before we were married. So-and-so needed a ride to work, your brother, and then they're like, well, where's your wife? Have her do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
and then you called me. I mean, you said she doesn't have a car. At the time, I didn't have a car. But you didn't say, no, she won't do it. You just said, she ain't got no car. And then that's when you told them that they should be walking. Was it my brother or was it my sister? It was your brother, because you told him to walk.
To be fair, my brother worked down the street, and my sister both. Yeah. Both of them worked down the street.
But yeah, it happened a few times, and it's like, wife will not be doing that.
Yeah.
But also, it was made very clear to us by your mom that Peter, we know he's part of the Vang clan. And according to your mom and your sister, you guys have the most strict rules that are out there. I'm not sure. We never really got told.
I mean, as you can see, I clearly don't follow all of them. So.
Yeah. And to be honest, you already went outside the box in dating me.
Yeah.
You went outside. You went even further by marrying me. And to think that we're going to follow tradition after being so untraditional.
Yeah.
Seems very far-fetched.
So here's what I've been trying to get out.
I'm sorry.
So here's what I've been meaning to try to say. There's that whole saying in the Hmong culture, where you're coming into our culture, you need to respect our rules, and you need to make sure that you're accepted in our rules. Now, here's where I cut the line in the middle, yes, you are coming into my culture, but here's the thing. My culture has to be able to accept your culture. Now, if we're doing like big family events, that's a bit different, but no, that's not different, because they still have to accept that they're not in because they're in their bubble only, and they have to understand that if somebody new coming in, they're not going to know all the rules, and they're not going to follow all the traditions, because you still have to have that boundary where, okay, this is how they do things, this is how we do things, here's where the boundary sets the rules where we're not going to cross each other. So I'll just use my family as an example. So with you coming into my house, yes, there are rules for the house that you do have to follow, even for me.
You slowly learn it.
Right. But the thing is, you're not just anyone coming in now. You're my wife coming in, and my family has to understand that they have to sacrifice some things. Because if you're sacrificing some of your things to...
The daughter-in-law has to sacrifice all.
Yeah. You're sacrificing a lot already for my culture. Now, my culture has to decide or my household, I'll just say my family, they have to decide what they're willing to sacrifice for you, because I don't think it's fair for you to just come into the culture and accept everything and not have a say, because that wouldn't be fair.
It's also unfair to force someone else. And I'm saying your parents or your family. You cannot force your family to accept or to sacrifice or to compromise, because that's something they have to do willingly on their own.
Right.
So it's a two-way street. So although you want them to accept and also treat me fairly because I'm not of the culture, vice versa.
Right.
Sometimes it's realistic, sometimes it's not. I mean, it's a realistic ideology. Like, you really want that.
Right.
But It don't always happen that way.
So I guess it's just kind of like for us, it was just finding that middle ground of this is what your culture does, this is what my culture does, you know, and like where do we meet in the middle so we're eye to eye, so that way we're not disrespecting each other instead of just one culture conquering your culture, you, and it's because then it's kind of like, okay, now you're stuck in a culture and you're basically just kind of like a puppet, you know, like you can't do anything without me telling you what to do because that's not fair on you.
Mm-hmm. And I was
even if you're
monk.
Even if you're a monk, like I wouldn't want my woman to be like, oh no, I have to go this week to go do that. Like I get it, that's family and that's what we do for family. But I want you to be able to have your own voice. Like, you know, like I love you guys, but yo, this week is gonna be me and my family. Like this is our time, you know, like I'm still here 100% for you guys, but you gotta give me some space to breathe. And you know, that's one thing that I had to break out from because I was so used to like every single week, you know, we're gonna go here to go help out. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm always helping you guys out, and I always got love for you guys, but you gotta understand that my life does not revolve around you guys. You know, I have my own life to live. And the thing is,
with the Hmong culture in general, whether you still follow it or not, it's very much family over everything, family over friends, which is why you see that a lot of your friends are your cousins or your siblings, you know? It's really, you have your couple of friends that aren't related, but for the most part, you're like super close to a cousin or so. And that's good. Family, because to be honest, like I said, you taught me a whole different meaning to family. And being just, you know, all for your family. But you are also your own person, like you just said, where you don't always want to be around family.
You don't want to be a slave to your family.
Exactly. And as the oldest, you're the oldest out of your siblings. You're expected to do a lot more as the oldest son. And then you have, of course, the daughters who are expected to do their portion. For me, being the second to last kid, also, I mean, they kind of equal out me and my little sister as being the youngest in general. And for me, things were expected in a different way. It was more like you're seen and not heard type situations for me. And so, also it helped that I was an introvert, or I'm an introvert, and quiet, or was quiet. And so, as I got older, I realized I don't want to be treated that way. I'm not going to be just seen and not heard. Like, a lot of the times, unfortunately, patriarchal society wants women to be seen and not heard. And so, you're kind of unconsciously raised that way. And your opinions, you save them for your husband. If your husband don't want to hear it, you go complain to your girls. Instead, now, when I started getting older, it's like, no, I'm going to make sure people know how this is unfair. And if they don't listen to my words, they're going to listen to my actions. Unfortunately, sometimes it didn't play out that way. But I would always make sure that you knew how I felt about it.
Because, I mean, that's kind of... I feel like that's what being in a relationship is about. Because if you're not willing to communicate your relationship to your partner, it's just kind of like, then you're not really in a relationship. You're kind of just roommates.
Yeah, and if you're not both willing to compromise something, when it comes to my womanhood, that's one thing I won't compromise to try to fit into someone's family.
Vice versa, too.
And my belief, that's something I won't compromise to fit into anyone's family. So as a woman, and how the person that God was growing me to be, would not accept certain things. Especially at that time, I was still learning who I was. So it was like, I'm not going to pick up your stones to build this wall when I'm not even sure those stones are good for me. And so I think now, as an older person, I can look and really discern what's something I do for the love of the family, whether I want to or not, versus doing it out of obligation, you know? Like, there's a very fine line.
Yeah, for sure.
And it has nothing to do with Nyab duties. It has everything to do with your love for your family. And I think once you put the title of it, like Nyab duties, like, we didn't create this title because I learned about it from my Hmong friends and from my Hmong now family members, that they couldn't hang out with me because they're doing Nyab duties.
And it's also like, I feel like it's one of the most talked about topic in like the Hmong community. Nyab duties.
Or being a 10K Nyab, 20K Nyab. It's like...
To me, that's just, I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but I think that's bullshit.
But everything's like, you get to be the best wife you can be, or best daughter-in-law you can be, and so this is what you need to be 10K, you need to be 20K, yeah.
It's kind of wrong. I feel like it's pimping, you know, like you got to make sure your girls are like the perfect, you know, for
Hey,
the 10K.
hey.
I'm trying to be careful with my words here, but yeah.
But yeah, it was just kind of difficult because I'm coming to a culture where like you have to be top notch, and
definitely.
if you, I mean, just thinking about coming into my family, if I were a guy and a woman's coming in, your mom wants to know that you were going to do for her son that she has raised him to accept. Like, I raised my son to only want this.
Right.
You coming in need to know how to provide that.
Right. Yeah, it's I can't believe I forgot about this, but God definitely revealed a lot to us. Now that I think back on it, He was like, "Yo, you both have to sit down and talk and be like, you're willing to accept this and you won't accept this." And for me, because I'm so prideful and hard-headed, He had to tear that down. And unfortunately, me tearing down that was seeing her hurt, seeing you hurt. So all of that, he was kind of like, all right, you need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what you guys are going to agree together. And I have it down on my phone too, but like standing up for her, which is you, like I have to stand up to you and I have to back you up on.
Ooh, yeah, it took a while.
I have to back you up on what we talked about, because if you and me are talking in private doors and I go out there and I do the exact opposite, I do exactly what I was doing already without backing you up, then it's just kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah, and a lot of times the conversations I've seen in my friends' marriages is that the conversation is being had with their husband.
Right.
And the husband is making it seem like the wife is tripping, so they're gaslighting the wife.
Again, another men thing to do.
Yeah, yes. Saying that the wife is the one that's in the wrong because she won't do what's required of her as the daughter-in-law to the family. Right. Because then it's that whole my family over everything. Again, even though now your wife is family.
Right.
So with us, and since we are, we got married the American way, to be honest, that's Hmong way is American way too. I had to put that out there. Hmong American, like the Hmong way is still an American way, even though it's not.
I want to say this: we got married in the way God wanted us to get married.
Thank you. We got married in the way God wanted us to get married, and without the legal aspect of it, right. We joined as one, as a unit, and so as a unit, we had to create these boundaries for what we will and won't accept in our marriage, because for us, this marriage and the decisions we make in our marriage
right.
is not for other people's opinions to be involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when a lot of other people's opinions are involved in your marriage, especially when the marriage is healthy, can get real messy.
Right.
Because it's like, why isn't your wife doing that? Why isn't your wife doing that? And if the husband has already turned his back on his wife to accept all those comments coming to him, he's going to bring them into our marriage and cause even more destruction, just like our relationship was before,
Right.
And so with us, when we joined as United Front, it's us making that eye contact and being here with each other,
right.
Not turning away from each other, so that if someone is to come and say something to you about what ain't quite right or whatever, it's like, no, me and my wife got this.
Right.
You don't know what's going on.
Right.
And like you're putting up that fort.
It is kind of, I think really what you said earlier too, like, I don't have to explain myself to you. Just know that, I'm backing her up and she's backing me up regardless. Even if I was in your family event and,
I always back Peter up. I wish somebody would. I wish somebody would come for my husband. I wish. I wish.
Yeah. So, it's just learning about like backing each other up and, like what we're willing to accept on Nyab duties and what we won't, because obviously Nyab duties, I think it should be towards everyone. Like instead of calling it Nyab duties, we should just call it helping out.
Yeah. It is helping out. And to be honest, it really depends on the family.
Right.
Because there's a lot of Hmong families that do it completely differently.
Yep. This is just in my family.
This is his family. Yep. And then kind of, to be honest, there's a lot of families that I know since high school that kind of told me about this.
Right.
And it all kind of rang the same. It's all seemed very similar.
Everyone just has their own little
tweak to it.
Yeah.
So like, because like we talked before I know we have to end soon, but like we said before, unfortunately, I'm just gonna be real open with this. When it comes to Hmong things, Hmong people know everything from everywhere. And
we do.
And I gave this expression when you have a Yang family here saying, no, this is how the Hmong people do it, and a separate Yang family saying the same thing,
right.
They can both be right. Because while it still can be true at the base,
right.
Families just do it differently. I'm sorry, y'all have been here for over 40 years. Yeah. Things change.
Yeah, and every family, I mean, not just even the Hmong culture, but every family has their own way of doing things.
That's like me saying the black culture does this. While there's still something small in there that's true, right. My family, although being black, doesn't necessarily do what could be considered traditional.
Right. So, every family has their own way of doing things, and this is just the way that my family do things.
Yeah. And you're Hmong.
Right.
It still holds a lot of Hmong tradition. It's just not...
So
you trying to end it?
Yeah. What else did you still have?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. But yeah, to kind of bring this all video to an end, just this is what Nyab duty means, or this is what Nyab duty is to me and my family, and just to my knowledge. I'm sure you guys will let us know more in the comments.
Yeah, because y'all be in them comments, man.
But just this is how we handle Nyab duties in our relationship, and honestly, thank you guys for tuning in, and
yes, so thank you all for watching. We will be doing more Hanging with the Vangs once every month. We're actually really excited about having candid conversation, minimally edited. Yeah, so these are our longer videos, so be prepared.
So if you made it to the end, you're a real one.
Yeah. And
we appreciate you.
We appreciate you. And also, we want to thank you for 365 subscribers.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We have not made a video about the subscribers that we get. Even on Instagram, we have 400 and something right now followers.
I was surprised when I just found that out the other day too. We had like 300 something subscribers. I was like, yo, we're at 300.
Yes, and it's such a huge, we're so honored that you guys have like literally watched our videos, because we don't feel like we're very exciting people, to be honest.
Well, I'm pretty exciting, but...
We don't feel like we're very exciting people. And the fact that you all watch every week, or you catch up on our videos, we love you for that. And don't whenever you see the subscribe at the bottom, make sure that you click the bell as well, so that you get notified when we post. Because March, we were MIA, our bad, but you also want to get notified when videos like this pop up.
Yes, so thank you guys.
You're so awkward. Oh my gosh. You couldn't say, okay, we're ending.
And we're done. But yes, thank you guys for tuning in to The Vangs. I'm Peter.
I'm Tanaya.
And peace.